In this video, we'll explore the power of deep focus and how it can completely transform your mind and productivity. You'll learn the science behind deep focus, how it rewires your brain, and the role of dopamine, neural circuits, and synapses in sustaining concentration. We'll also uncover the surprising link between religion and deep focus, the difference between active and passive deep focus, and why having a clear purpose fuels unstoppable motivation. By the end, you'll understand how to harness deep focus to unlock higher performance, greater creativity, and ultimate fulfillment in any area of life. Chapter 3. How Deep Focus Awakens the Brain. 1. Signs of deep focus. People often think that happiness and pleasure come mainly from external stimuli. However, when in a state of deep focus, simply concentrating on a given problem can bring happiness and pleasure. This insight changes the fundamental understanding of how happiness is achieved. It suggests that happiness is an internal function, and external stimuli only serve as catalysts. If one can alter their internal state to be more receptive to happiness, it becomes easier to experience joy while engaging in meaningful tasks. Understanding this principle allows individuals to live both happily and competitively. Modern neuroscience has identified how emotions are generated at the molecular level. Before delving into neuroscience, the author describes his personal experiences with deep focus. 1. Distinctive signs of deep focus. When thinking about a single problem continuously for several days, the mind becomes fully occupied with it. Simply thinking about the problem brings a sense of pleasure. The deeper the focus, the greater the pleasure. If deep focus is sustained along with regular exercise, the pleasure can last for weeks or even months. Confidence and motivation increase, leading to an optimistic outlook. Creative ideas emerge at an accelerated pace. Sensory perception sharpens, making each day feel more profound and moving. Although occasional boredom occurs when progress is slow, even small advancements bring great joy and excitement. A sense of sacredness and reverence is felt towards one's work. Personal values undergo a transformation. 2. The relationship between deep focus and pleasure. Being in a deep focus state feels like being immersed in something intoxicating. If interrupted, the pleasant mental state is disrupted, much like having an engaging atmosphere suddenly broken. For example, after a weekend with family, returning to work on Monday morning brings joy because it allows uninterrupted focus. Similarly, when driving, encountering a red light provides an opportunity to focus on a problem, making even traffic congestion feel enjoyable. A key revelation from this experience is that the pleasure derived from deep focus is not fleeting, but long-lasting. Regular exercise and sustained focus can create a feeling of living in a state of continuous bliss, like being in heaven. Contrary to the belief that happiness and sadness naturally alternate, deep focus proves that sustained joy does not necessarily lead to subsequent depression. Instead, it allows for a state of consistently elevated pleasure without emotional downturns. 2. Neuroscience perspectives on deep focus. Deep focus aligns with what psychology describes as self-actualization, where an individual fully maximizes their abilities and experiences a peak state. This experience is often accompanied by spiritual emotions. However, if one assumes that all changes brought by deep focus are temporary or based on mere self-suggestion, they are misunderstanding its nature. Deep focus is rooted in scientific principles, with the brain providing clear evidence of its effects. The author, after experiencing deep focus firsthand, became curious about the physiological changes occurring in the body and mind. Seeking answers, he explored neuroscience and neurobiology, starting with the book The Secrets of the Brain by Kosuke Oki. This exploration led to an exciting realization. Many of the author's deep focus experiences could be explained through neuroscience. Moreover, neuroscience offers the most structured and precise guide to how humans should live, showing a systematic approach to achieving happiness and productivity. To live a fulfilling and productive life, understanding one's nature is crucial. Just as amnesiacs struggle to construct an optimal life due to lost memories, individuals lacking self-awareness will find it difficult to design and pursue an effective path in life. In the 20th century, natural science was driven by understanding the fundamental building blocks of matter, atoms. Likewise, to grasp human behavior and social structures, one must first understand the fundamental unit of society, the individual. Neuroscience plays a pivotal role in uncovering key insights into human nature. Its rapid advancements have expanded our understanding of human consciousness far beyond what traditional humanities and philosophy alone could achieve. 3. The pleasure circuit, dopamine, A10 neurons, and synapses. Neuroscience reveals that deep focus is closely linked to dopamine, a neurotransmitter responsible for concentration, pleasure, motivation, and creativity. These characteristics align perfectly with the experience of deep focus, suggesting that dopamine production is significantly activated during this state. To fully understand the effects of deep focus, it is essential to examine the brain's pleasure circuit, dopamine pathways, A10 neurons, synapses, and the phenomenon of marathoner's high. 1. The brain's pleasure circuit. In the 1950s, researchers discovered the pleasure circuit by implanting electrodes into rats' brains, allowing them to self-stimulate dopamine release. The rats compulsively press the stimulation lever, ignoring food, water, and even mating. Some even press the lever to death. Later studies revealed that cocaine and opioids produce similar effects by flooding the nucleus accumbens, the brain's pleasure center, with dopamine. This experiment demonstrated that pleasure is not simply a response to external rewards, but a biological function controlled by neural circuits. 2. The role of dopamine in deep focus. Dopamine plays a critical role in motivation and sustained attention. It is released during exercise, eating, romantic attraction, and goal-oriented activities. This neurotransmitter sharpens focus, boosts problem-solving abilities, and makes tasks more engaging. However, dopamine imbalances can be problematic. Too little leads to ADHD and difficulty concentrating, while excessive dopamine can cause paranoia and hallucinations. Deep focus naturally activates dopamine pathways, making work feel intrinsically rewarding. As concentration deepens, dopamine levels rise, reinforcing engagement and allowing individuals to sustain focus for extended periods without fatigue. This mechanism explains why people in deep focus often feel energized and highly motivated rather than drained. 3. The A10 neuron, the brain's pleasure neuron. Located in the brainstem, A10 neurons regulate dopamine release, acting as a control center for pleasure and motivation. These neurons are connected to the prefrontal cortex, which governs rational thought and decision-making. Unlike other neurons, A10 neurons lack a built-in regulation system for dopamine, meaning they can sustain high pleasure levels without triggering a self-limiting feedback loop. This unique function allows deep focus to be maintained for long durations, creating an ongoing state of heightened engagement. The sustained release of dopamine through A10 neurons explains why deep focus feels both productive and intensely pleasurable, unlike forced concentration, which can feel exhausting. 4. Synapses, the foundation of long-term change. The brain constantly rewires itself through synaptic plasticity, meaning that repeated thoughts and behaviors physically reshape neural connections. Each experience strengthens or weakens synapses, forming long-term habits and abilities. Neuroscience confirms that deep focus enhances synaptic connections related to learning, creativity, and problem-solving. The more frequently deep focus is achieved, the stronger these connections become, making it easier to enter the state in the future. This explains why highly skilled individuals can concentrate for long hours without distraction. It is not willpower alone, but a trained neurological process. 5. Marathoner's high, the science of endurance and euphoria. A well-documented phenomenon called marathoner's high offers another example of how the brain manages stress and pleasure. Long-distance runners often experience an initial phase of intense physical exhaustion, but if they push through this barrier, they enter a euphoric state where pain fades and confidence surges. This effect occurs because the brain releases endorphins and dopamine in response to prolonged physical exertion. These chemicals help mask discomfort and generate a sense of well-being, making continued effort feel effortless. Repeated exposure to this cycle trains the brain to tolerate higher levels of discomfort, making endurance activities easier over time. The same principle applies to deep focus. Initially, concentration may feel difficult or even exhausting, but sustained engagement triggers the brain's pleasure and reward systems, making focus feel effortless and even addictive. Over time, the ability to enter deep focus becomes stronger and more natural, just as endurance improves with training. 6. Emotions are engineered by the brain. Contrary to the belief that emotions are purely reactions to external events, neuroscience shows that happiness, motivation, and frustration are shaped by brain chemistry. People who frequently enter deep focus develop stronger emotional responses to small achievements, making work naturally fulfilling. By contrast, those who struggle with focus often feel bored or disengaged, as their pleasure circuits are understimulated. This is why developing deep focus habits transforms work into a source of joy rather than stress, independent of external rewards. Conclusion: deep focus as a path to lasting fulfillment. Unlike temporary pleasure from entertainment, deep focus strengthens dopamine pathways and neural connections, creating a long-lasting sense of purpose. By understanding how the brain responds to deep focus, individuals can intentionally cultivate this state, unlocking higher motivation, creativity, and long-term satisfaction. 4. The body craves purpose. Survival and reproduction are the fundamental driving forces behind all living organisms. While plants take in nutrients through their roots and generate energy via photosynthesis, animals must move to find food. This necessity for movement led to the development of perception, motor functions, and ultimately, the brain. However, movement without direction is meaningless. Every action must have a goal. This purpose-driven behavior is not just a psychological trait, but an essential survival mechanism ingrained in all animals, including humans. 1. Goals create meaning. Humans instinctively pursue goals. Once a clear objective is set, the brain naturally directs all energy toward achieving it. Take a tennis match as an example. The goal is to win. When a player makes an error, frustration follows because it moves them away from victory. This negative reinforcement sharpens focus, reducing mistakes. On the other hand, a well-executed shot brings satisfaction, reinforcing the motivation to improve. This cycle of reward and correction enhances performance, driving the player deeper into focus. Deep focus shifts the mind from scattered distractions to a heightened state of concentration. This transition is not automatic. It requires energy and motivation. The brain provides this motivation through positive rewards such as expectation, joy, and pleasure, as well as negative reinforcement such as urgency, discomfort, and stress. Crisis situations often trigger deep focus due to the intensity of negative reinforcement. Likewise, entertainment and hobbies create deep engagement due to the pleasure they provide. These two forces, urgency and enjoyment, are the essential drivers of deep focus. 2. The science of purpose-driven focus. The brain operates on a goal-oriented mechanism, constantly seeking meaning in tasks. This is why a game is more exciting when you care about the outcome. Watching a national soccer match feels more thrilling than a random game because of emotional investment. The stronger the desire for victory, the deeper the engagement. Neuroscience confirms that clear goal setting enhances synaptic activation, reinforcing focus and motivation. When a goal is personally meaningful, the brain intensifies focus, making even small tasks significant. The closer one gets to the goal, the greater the sense of pleasure, while moving away from it creates discomfort. This principle applies to all goal-oriented activities, from work to sports to creative pursuits. The brain interprets repeated exposure to an idea as increasing urgency. A strong sense of purpose creates a state of high alert, enhancing focus. This is why athletes in competition, entrepreneurs building a business, or scientists pursuing discovery experience deep focus effortlessly. The body treats important goals as survival-level priorities, maximizing concentration and performance. 3. The power of clear goals. The stronger the goal and motivation, the more the brain prioritizes focus. This is why children are encouraged to dream big, as ambitious goals create an internal drive that sustains motivation over time. This idea is illustrated in The Great Stone Face, where a young boy who repeatedly envisions a legendary figure eventually grows into that very person. The lesson: what we consistently focus on shapes our reality. Sculptor Auguste Rodin, known for masterpieces like The Thinker, exemplifies the power of unwavering purpose. Despite multiple rejections from art schools, financial struggles, and personal loss, he remained committed to his dream. From childhood, he declared, "I will be as great as Michelangelo and Raphael." This vision guided him through hardship, ultimately cementing his legacy as a legendary artist. His story proves that those who deeply believe in their goals eventually achieve them. 4. Napoleon Hill's formula for success. Napoleon Hill, a pioneer in success psychology, developed principles that align perfectly with how the brain's goal-oriented system functions. His philosophy can be distilled into 4 key principles. Have a definite purpose and a burning desire to achieve it. Make a clear plan and execute it consistently. Ignore negative influences and doubts from others. Surround yourself with people who support your vision. The key takeaway is that goal setting is a conscious choice, and once a goal is defined, the brain begins reshaping habits and thought patterns to align with it. For example, a student who sets a goal to become top of their class will experience increased motivation to study. Over time, synapses strengthen around study-related activities, making distractions less appealing and focus more natural. The same principle applies to professional work. Employees who mentally reinforce their goals daily develop a heightened sense of purpose, leading to greater engagement and higher performance. Neuroscience confirms that clarity of purpose enhances the emotional connection to work, making it as mentally engaging as a game. 5. Self-actualization and deep focus. Psychologist Abraham Maslow identified self-actualization as the highest form of human motivation, the drive to reach one's full potential. This state is achieved when an individual fully utilizes their abilities, often experiencing peak performance and deep fulfillment. Maslow later expanded his hierarchy of needs, placing spiritual transcendence at the very top, where individuals go beyond personal success to help others reach their potential. Maslow's findings align with neuroscience. Deep focus is a gateway to self-actualization. When engaged in meaningful work, people experience their highest levels of creativity, problem-solving, and innovation. The sustained joy from deep focus is not temporary. It transforms personal values and shapes an individual's entire outlook on life. Conclusion: purpose is the key to deep focus. Deep focus is not just about discipline, it is about meaning. When work aligns with a powerful purpose, the brain naturally prioritizes it, making distractions fade away. Goals create emotional investment, and emotional investment creates effortless focus. By setting clear, meaningful goals, individuals can enter deep focus states naturally, sustain motivation without external pressure, experience greater fulfillment and long-term success. When purpose fuels focus, work stops feeling like effort. It becomes a deeply rewarding journey. 5. Does having religion make deep focus easier? Neuroscience explains deep focus in objective terms, but the emotional state experienced during deep focus closely resembles religious emotions. This similarity is why deep focus often feels like meditation. The author, despite never practicing formal meditation, found that during periods of intense focus, he naturally adopted a meditative posture, relaxed, sitting still, and deeply contemplating a problem. Over time, he realized that deep focus itself was a form of enlightenment, where solving problems felt like progressing toward greater understanding. 1. Scientists and the religious-like emotions of deep focus. After prolonged deep focus, scientists often experience a heightened emotional state, similar to religious awe. Daily life feels more meaningful, a deep sense of gratitude arises, and an overwhelming appreciation for the beauty of the world emerges. Everything feels like heaven, and those who do not experience such insight seem unfortunate. When the authors shared this perspective with religious individuals, they confirmed that their spiritual experiences felt identical. Prayer, meditation, and deep focus all bring about a similar state of heightened awareness and inspiration. Religious practices like Zen meditation and chanting mirror the mental engagement and singular focus seen in deep concentration. Albert Einstein also acknowledged the connection between deep focus and religious experience. He believed that great scientific discoveries emerge from profound spiritual emotions, referring to the creative process as the only true religious activity of our time. He described scientists as moving according to universal laws, their religious sentiment expressed through an overwhelming sense of wonder at nature's harmony. Einstein even compared the scientist's experience of intellectual discovery to the transcendent emotions of religious leaders throughout history. He noted that, like faith, this deep emotional experience is difficult to explain to those who have never felt it. His description of intellectual exploration as the path to heaven suggests that deep focus and religious devotion share fundamental emotional similarities. 2. Similarities between deep focus and Zen meditation. The author identifies 4 major similarities between deep focus and Zen meditation, Huadu Zen practice. 1. Breakthroughs in deep focus feel like spiritual enlightenment. Just as meditation leads to sudden realization, deep focus brings about unexpected insights and inspiration. 2. Ideas emerge unpredictably. In deep focus, solutions appear suddenly, a process known as serendipity. Zen Buddhism calls this sudden enlightenment, dano, a realization that arises instantly from prolonged contemplation. 3. Total mental immersion. In deep focus, the mind constantly returns to the problem, even during sleep. Zen practice refers to this as one-mind immersion, holding onto a single thought even while dreaming or sleeping. 4. Intentional focus in daily activities. In deep focus, one actively maintains awareness while walking, eating, or washing up. Zen practitioners describe this as preserving mindfulness in every action. Both deep focus and Zen practice require immense effort to enter, but once achieved, they sustain themselves with little effort. A Zen teaching describes it using a bicycle analogy. Once you gain momentum, it continues moving effortlessly. Similarly, once deep focus is reached, it becomes self-sustaining. 6. Activity-based versus thought-based deep focus. Deep focus is a natural human experience, often occurring in daily life. Whether a child is immersed in a video game or an adult is captivated by a World Cup match, focus happens effortlessly when the activity is engaging. However, the challenge lies in achieving deep focus for demanding tasks like work, research, or creative problem-solving. Unlike entertainment, these activities require intentional effort to enter a state of sustained concentration. Some tasks naturally lend themselves to deep focus more than others. Activities that involve physical movement, like tennis or lab experiments, provide immediate feedback, making it easier to stay engaged. On the other hand, intellectual pursuits, such as chess or scientific research, demand prolonged concentration without immediate results, making deep focus harder to sustain. In physical activities, success and failure are instantly visible, which helps sustain engagement. In contrast, deep thought often involves long periods of uncertainty, requiring greater patience and persistence. This difference explains why activity-based focus is easier to achieve, while thought-based focus, though more difficult, tends to be more immersive and addictive over time. Both types of focus share common traits, such as losing track of time, feeling deeply connected to the task, and experiencing a cycle of frustration and breakthrough moments. However, they differ in duration. Physical focus is limited by fatigue, while thought-based focus can last much longer without draining energy. A soccer match has a clear time limit, while a researcher can remain deeply focused on a problem for weeks. Some work environments naturally foster deep focus. Sony's engineering team, during the development of digital audio systems, operated under extreme deadlines. Engineers worked tirelessly, reaching a state where solutions appeared effortlessly, as if their minds had been rewired for problem solving. This type of immersion often produces groundbreaking results, as seen in Sony's most innovative products. A similar effect occurs in research. A graduate student, after weeks of unsuccessful experiments, suddenly experienced a breakthrough. The moment of discovery felt like winning the lottery, with excitement overriding exhaustion. Even outside the lab, thoughts of the project remained dominant, making distractions like TV or social media feel meaningless. Deep focus can feel like an unpredictable, once-in-a-lifetime experience, but it is trainable and repeatable. However, sustaining it for long periods requires balance. Physical deep focus can lead to exhaustion, while thought-based focus can feel frustrating without clear feedback. Alternating between both types of focus, incorporating regular exercise, and managing energy levels can help maintain deep focus without burnout. By learning to regulate and extend deep focus, it can become a consistent state of mind, leading to greater creativity, productivity, and long-term success. 7. Active versus passive deep focus. The approach to deep focus significantly affects its effectiveness. Facing a problem with stress and fear, such as a business crisis, leads to a passive and reactive focus. In contrast, approaching a challenge with curiosity and excitement, like being in love, creates an active and engaged focus. Active focus is not just more enjoyable, but also more efficient, as it reduces stress, enhances creativity, and increases happiness through the brain's release of beta endorphins. 1. Deep focus driven by enjoyment. The easiest deep focus experience in daily life is falling in love. When deeply infatuated, thoughts of the loved one dominate every moment, from eating to working to sleeping. Even after parting ways, it becomes difficult to distinguish whether the time spent together was real or imagined. Love is a powerful example of immersive focus, where emotional intensity makes distractions disappear. This illustrates how joy-driven deep focus is effortless and consuming. The key takeaway is that when something is deeply enjoyable, the mind naturally enters a state of immersion without resistance. 2. Deep focus, triggered by crisis. Another form of deep focus arises from high-pressure situations. A business owner on the brink of bankruptcy or a researcher facing an unsolvable problem often experiences overwhelming mental fixation on the crisis. Worry and stress keep the problem at the forefront of their mind for weeks or even months, forcing them into an involuntary state of focus. Surprisingly, crisis-driven deep focus can lead to breakthrough ideas as the brain searches for solutions under intense pressure. Many entrepreneurs even find excitement in navigating challenges, describing crises as the most engaging part of their work. However, this type of focus often comes with mental strain, making it difficult to sustain over time. 3. Turning passive focus into active focus. A deer being chased by a predator and a lion chasing its prey both experience deep focus, but their experiences are entirely different. Fear-driven focus is exhausting, while purpose-driven focus is empowering. Most work environments force passive deep focus. Employees feel pressured by deadlines, students cram for exams, and people react to problems only when they become urgent. However, this can be shifted into active deep focus through intentional effort. The difference often comes down to time and mindset. Just like climbing a mountain, the pace of focus determines whether it feels like a struggle or an enjoyable journey. Rushing to the top in 30 minutes leads to exhaustion, while taking 4 to 5 hours allows for a pleasant hike. To transition from passive to active focus, one must embrace slow and deliberate thinking. Rather than forcing focus under stress, gradually easing into concentration makes deep focus natural and sustainable. This method minimizes mental fatigue, making focus a joyful experience rather than a survival mechanism. The Edison example, mastering deep focus. Thomas Edison, one of history's greatest inventors, transformed his entire life into a state of deep focus. Frustrated by his lack of progress, he made a drastic commitment. Work 10 hours daily with full concentration. Use remaining waking hours to think about his work. Eliminate meaningless distractions and interactions. Train himself to dream about his work even while asleep. This relentless 18-hour focus routine led him to found GE, file 1,093 patents, and revolutionize modern technology. His success was built not on genius, but on deep and intentional focus sustained over time. Edison's philosophy was simple: treat work as a game, enjoy the process, and immerse completely. Whether reading, solving problems, or meeting people, he approached everything as a form of play, making deep focus a lifelong habit rather than an occasional effort. Conclusion: sustainable deep focus. Deep focus is most powerful when it feels like an exciting pursuit rather than a burden. While a crisis can force immersion, voluntarily embracing deep focus with curiosity and joy leads to greater creativity, better problem solving, and long-term success. By shifting from reactive stress-based focus to proactive enjoyment-based focus, anyone can turn deep focus into a permanent and rewarding state of mind. 8. Deep focus through the insight of mortality. Nothing in life is as certain as death, yet people spend their lives preparing for everything except death. While it is an uncomfortable subject, contemplating mortality is the key to understanding the true value of life. Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi found that the difference between geniuses and ordinary people lies in their perception of death. Most people only give their best effort in crisis situations, but once the crisis passes, so does their motivation. In contrast, extraordinary individuals maintain a sense of urgency every day, as if life itself were at stake. Through interviews with high achievers, Csikszentmihalyi discovered a common trait. A deep awareness of mortality fueled their relentless drive. Legendary figures like poet Gyuri Faludi and mathematician Paul Erdos credited their lifelong pursuit of excellence to an early realization of their own mortality. Erdos recalled how, at 4 years old, he suddenly understood he would one day die, and this was a moment that changed his life forever. He spent the rest of his life striving to make every moment count, never allowing himself to slow down. Leo Tolstoy wrote, "A life lived without awareness of death is an animal's life, while a life lived with full awareness of death is divine." His point was clear. The way we live changes dramatically when we recognize that our time is limited. Mortality as a catalyst for deep focus. The author's own journey into deep focus began with the realization that life should be lived with no regrets. A former student of his also found that the awareness of death was the greatest motivator to immerse fully in life. French philosopher Montaigne once said, "To study philosophy is to learn how to die." If humans were immortal, life itself would lose meaning. Death defines the value of life, and only by accepting it can we fully appreciate the time we have. A simple thought experiment makes this clear. If a billionaire at 70 years old offered to trade his wealth for a young person's life, most young people would refuse without hesitation. This proves that time and life itself are more valuable than any amount of money. Yet many people waste their days on trivial distractions, forgetting that they already possess something priceless. By asking one simple question each day, "Was today meaningful?" one can shift toward a life of greater focus and purpose. If this reflection becomes a habit, it ensures that at the moment of death, there will be no regrets. Finding meaning by embracing death. Understanding death is not just about reading or thinking, it requires deep, personal reflection. Every person is essentially a prisoner on death row, unaware of the exact execution date. Whether through accident, illness, or time itself, death is inevitable. Life is simply a race toward the finish line, and ignoring this fact does not change reality. Yet, this realization is not meant to be paralyzing. Instead, it provides a way to resist death by making the most of every moment while alive. True resistance to death is not through denial, but through living fully, ensuring that each day is rich with purpose, vitality, and engagement. A meaningless existence, drifting through life, waiting for time to pass, is no different from being dead. The only way to counteract death is to live a life of deep focus, energy, and full engagement. Every day must be an opportunity to maximize one's potential and extract the greatest joy from life, for life itself is the only chance we have. That's it for part 3. We hope you found these insights on deep focus useful and inspiring. Stay tuned because in the next video, we'll dive into Chapter 4, Education and Deep Focus, exploring how deep focus can enhance learning, boost creativity, and unlock genius-level thinking. We'll cover powerful learning techniques, the link between deep focus and academic performance, and how elite thinkers, like those in Jewish gifted education, train their minds for intense concentration and deeper reasoning. Plus, we'll discuss how insights into mortality can inspire a lifelong pursuit of knowledge and mastery. If you want to think smarter, learn faster, and unlock your full cognitive potential, don't miss part 4. We will see you in the next video.